Ba-dum, 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 bum, bum. Roman Reigns is back, but we all like him now, so it's absolutely fine.
That's like 3 themes ago at this point.
I know, right?
Come on.
Well, this is it, but I'm doing his babyface theme.
Because he's big
But
babyface
he's
boy.
now a babyface again, but he's not going to be coming out to that music.
No.
He's going to be coming out to it. It's like, whoa.
But like with extra.
Oh man, the big like rock drums
Oh.
at the start of it, because Roman Reigns, as we all thought would happen, did make his return at SummerSlam 2024, and it was awesome.
Was pretty spectacular,
The
wasn't it?
OTC, yeah, you know him, is back. He's on our screen. Yeah, you know me. If you would like, if you're doing a rap, you would.
Oh, I don't. I see. I see.
You're so white, Dan.
I am.
Please do press the subscribe button and give us a little follow here on the channel. Leave a comment down below and give us a little thumbs up while you're at it, because welcome to the WrestleTalk Podcast review of WWE Summerslam 2024. I'm Luco and DAD. This is Dan Layton, the Professor Dan Layton. Please do also send in your ReIGNS if you want your thoughts read out on the air. WrestleTalk.com/support. We'll read out all of them before the end of the show. And if you are watching live, hello to our wonderful live viewers. Join the conversation, join our live chat, join our wonderful SWAF Nation community, and get your thoughts in on this show, because there was a lot happening on this show.
This was a big show.
We were joking just before we came on air. There's been a report that's gone out recently that Triple H wants things to happen on the big fours, and the rest of it's kind of like they're just there. Money in the Bank is just there. Bash at Berlin is just there. Elimination Chamber is just there. But Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, and Survivor Series, those are big shows. That's where we do our big things. And crikey, was that evidence on this show, because there were 4 title changes.
Yeah.
2 big swerves within the Judgment Day, and the big Roman Reigns return.
I sort of said for about a decade that all I wanted was Triple H's NXT on the main roster, and I've got it. Kind of not a lot going on in weekly television, but then when those big takeovers come, oh boy, takeover. It just says it's takeover SummerSlam. That's what it is now.
It was takeover SummerSlam with 2 extra matches.
Yeah, and
it was a 7-match card.
This I don't know too much about how people feel about it, but this show for me was like 10s across the board. I loved it.
Oh, me too.
It's not without flaw. It's not without criticism, and we can talk about it. But as a pure pro wrestling entertainment spectacle, this ticked all my boxes.
I think you're right in terms of there are things to be critical of on this broadcast, but they are also, because the show is of such a high quality, they are things that we have to talk about them because that is our job.
Yeah.
But they are not a detriment to the show in any way whatsoever.
And this one, sorry to go, but this one felt like, because it is our job, but this one felt like one of those weird ones where not weird ones, perfect ones, where I finally got the mesh of both, where I was like, I can analyze this, but also just enjoy it as a fan. Yeah. It was both at the same time. I loved it for that reason. I
mean, one of the things that people have been critical of this show, certainly looking at the comments left on the news video that went up and looking at the live chat early doors when it's gone up, is this main event.
Right.
And not the return, it's the match itself.
Yeah.
And that is I think mostly down to, I think it's down to 2 things. One of which is we're all waiting for the return of Roman Reigns.
Yes.
But also on top of that, because they announced that it's Bloodline rules, you've set an expectation from WrestleMania. So really what the crowd were waiting for was the cameos.
Yes,
which they got later on. But it sort of meant that the first 2/3 of the match were people just being like almost looking at their watch, looking down the ramp, just like, when are the Gorillas of Destiny coming out?
Yeah.
When's Jacob Fatu showing up? When am I getting my Randy Orton return? And that's part one. Part B of that, which I think is the more crucial part of this, is that Roman and Cody were able to overcome that at WrestleMania because that was 2 incredibly built characters going at it, colliding together.
And there was so much on the line.
So much on the line. Whereas in this one, they just not done enough to capitalize on what they did late last year with Solo Sikoa.
Yeah.
That he did not feel like a credible threat to Cody's title. So it really became a match of, we'll just wait for the cameos and Cody wins.
I saw someone say aura is the new cliche of the word you'll hate within 5 minutes. Generational.
I was going to say generational is the one that I loathe at the moment.
Aura is on the way, I think. I saw someone refer to Solo as like negative aura. I don't agree with that. I think Solo's been doing a fantastic job of playing this, false chief. But in this moment, I think it did feel like, to your point, an exposure that they haven't fully capitalized on his potential and the potential that we all saw, not only for the start of his run as the Enforcer, but also the John Cena moment, the rest of it. It didn't feel at any point like Solo's gonna win the belt, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's why, yes, it then did become a question of, okay, so when are the pops gonna happen? When's the return gonna happen? And like to my previous point about the space for critique, but I also enjoyed it all. I thought when I've been thinking about it, the plotting of the returns, you know, these are people almost in the order they were taken out.
Yeah.
Right? You know, Randy, KO, all people who've been taken out by the bloodline. Cody's friends are back, kind of thing. And then I was like, oh yeah, the Wise Man was taken out as well, so there is one more on the way, kind of thing. It made sense. It was very pleasant. It was copy and paste, but they at least, you know, copied the homework and changed the dates. Well, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And speaking of homework, the story they told early doors of the match, which I actually really liked and I thought was a neat little bit of storytelling within the match, is that they kept putting about that Solo is much smarter than people give him credit for, and he's done his homework. He has been studying his Cody tapes. So when Cody was going for his trademark spots for his usual routine and stuff, Solo had an answer for it. Solo knew what was coming next, so he would find a reversal for it. And so Cody then had to kind of figure out a new way of kind of getting around this Solo problem of someone who knows him almost a bit too well. So I thought that was a really, really neat story.
Yeah.
It then, you know, developed into nerve holds. But, you know, like they kind of played all of this until I actually really enjoyed... I thought the diving headbutts in the corner were a bit naff, but then Cody kind of sat up on the third one and then did this Terry Funk style moonsault. Yeah, where like Michael Cole
into a crossbody.
Well, that's it, because like, you know, the Terry Funk style is you twist as you do it. It's not Kurt Angle-esque or, you know, Christopher Daniels perfectly over. And it was like, yeah, it was proper Terry Funk style, and I really appreciated it. And then the God came out and they attacked Cody Rhodes. You'll be pleased to know, everyone, Tongaloa had one spot, and he bollocksed it. Not to the degree that he's bollocksed his other ones.
I'm putting it down to the eye patch. It messes with your depth perception. You didn't know where it was. That's what that was.
It was the weird spot as well, because, like, Tama Tonga lifts Cody up, and, like, there's Tongaloa going, like, Rah! And then he charges at him to, like, do a move. And he just sort of runs into him, and then just sort of, like, bundles him into the corner, but he misses the corner. So he then has to reposition him into the corner, so like Tama Tonga can then do another move.
It's extra
really
remarkable.
Weird.
It's extra remarkable because turnbuckles and ring posts were very important to this SummerSlam. So like he's had plenty of times to watch other people figure out where it is.
So Kevin Owens came down. He brawled with the God, but the numbers game got the better of Owens. So then Randy Orton made his return. He came out. Couple of RKOs, some stunners, little swantons and stuff, and they brawled with the God and they brawled to the back.
Off they go.
So they kind of took them out of the equation. Cody and Solo then did some more stuff with the steel steps. They had a moment when the steel steps were in the corner and Cody was laid against it, and Solo went to do the hip attack into the corner, but Cody moved out of the way, so he butt whipped himself into the steel steps. And then out came Jacob Fatu. And you're like, oh yeah, you're the star of the Bloodline.
Yeah, you really are.
Because you're awesome. And he came in, he was just better than everyone else in the ring. And he was just like throwing Cody around, hitting his wicked moonsaults. His
Whisper in the wind, straight off the gate.
Absolutely. His wicked Samoan drop. He's just like, he's so good. Corey Graves, by the way, I'm going to put Corey Graves over here. When Corey Graves bolted out of the way, he's like, I'm getting out of the way. I've seen what he's been doing on SmackDown. You guys are not seeing what he's doing on SmackDown. I'm getting out of the way here.
I think Corey Graves has been doing a fantastic job since being in this play-by-play role. I've always been a Corey Graves fan. I loved his look on this show. I thought he played his part as the sort of third wheel to absolute perfection. And specifically that, I'm really glad you called it out, him promoting the fact that I'm the SmackDown guy. I sit here and experience this every single week. My table breaks every 5 minutes. I'm getting out of Dodge.
Yeah.
I thought it was really, really effective work from him on a show where he does more. Corey Graves is fantastic.
Also, I really enjoyed the interplay between him and Solo, because you can look at the interplay between him and Solo and
Jacob.
Jacob and Solo, and mirror it to how Solo was with Roman at WrestleMania, where he was like, get the job done, and Roman's it's like, I know, I'm trying.
Yeah.
Because Jacob's then yelling at Solo, and he's almost directing traffic. And he takes Cody out, he puts him onto the table, he goes up top and does this big old splash from the top rope to the floor through the announcer's table, hurts his foot in the process, sold it so well. Triple H said in the press conference that he was banged up. Sean Ross Sapp said, I'm looking into it, whether he's actually hurt. Maybe he is, I assumed it was a work.
So
just so they give him an excuse not to be in the ring for what happened afterwards.
I hope it's a work, because that would suck for him.
He just won the title. He just debuted. He just won the tag titles.
And he's fantastic.
And he's awesome.
Like, he's this breath of fresh air that Bloodline Wolfpack needs. I feel like there was a video that went around on Twitter of him being helped to the back. When I heard that, my heart sank. When I saw it, it came back up a little bit, because it looks like selling to me.
Yeah.
Hopefully, if it is an injury, I hope it's a brief one. But what a mark of this, the skill and the talent and the awareness of the man to be on one foot and directing traffic, like you say, sitting there being like, finish him, screaming, throwing chairs around. I was terrified of him, and he was on the floor. I also think that sorry, fiddling with Mike. I also think that if he's not injured, it's a perfect logical choice to get him out of the way, because this was always about, and Bloodline Rules of WrestleMania was also about, evening the playing field, right? We had the Guerrillas of Destiny come out, RKO come out, right? Even, done. Roman Reigns' appearance was there to take out Solo Sikoa. There is one person left. The only person who can take out Jacob Fatu is Jacob Fatu. Like, he's the only person who can do it. I thought that was really nice as well.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah. So, fingers crossed it's just...
I'm hoping so.
A work.
Yeah, because there's every chance that he could have got back into the ring for a spot and Roman could have laid him out.
Yeah.
Maybe that was a planned thing. But I assumed at the end of the show that it was a planned spot.
Yeah.
But I
in the moment, it felt horrible.
In the moment, my heart sank because I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
Just won the tag titles. It's the reason why they didn't put the belts on Tonga Loa and the actual tag team that are there. They put them on you instead. But yeah, like, I'm hoping that it was a work, because what happened at the end of all of this is Cody does the Oopa Duper Super Duper Cody Cutter. They're both down, and then we got a big drum fill as the LED board said head of the table.
The most pure blue I've ever seen.
Big blue head of the table
waters
on the Titantron. And out walked Roman Reigns, cool as a cucumber. The crowd went ballistic for him. He walked down to the ring. He sauntered down to the ring, just very cool. Slid into the ring, and all of a sudden, explosiveness. Big old Superman punch to Solo Sikoa. Ooh-ah, spear to Solo Sikoa.
World's biggest ooh-ah.
Well, very big ooh-ah. And he looked at Cody. There was kind of like a nod of acknowledgement of just like, you're welcome. But there was not enough of like, we're cool now. Because when he slid out the ring, he turned back and he just kept his eye on Cody. Because Cody then picked up Solo, hit the crossroads, and got the win. And he's keeping on Cody because he's like, look, I've got to deal with this first. I've got to deal with this Solo Sikoa thing because he's coming in, claims to be the tribal chief. He's not. I'm original tribal chief. I'm OTC. This is my domain, and he is stealing this from me. But speaking of stealing, you've got something on your shoulder that I truly believe belongs to me. And as the head of the table, I need to have that back. So just so you know, I am going to be coming for that belt at some point soon. I think it was, and that was kind of the end visual of the show, as Cody was celebrating in the ring. Roman was just there sort of staring at him and then just walked to the back. It was an incredible return. It was exactly what you wanted this return to be for Roman Reigns. And it sets up a very exciting latter half of 2024 in terms of this Bloodline thing, which I think people had started to think was growing a bit stale on SmackDown. And it needed this kind of like injection of excitement back to it again.
What do you want as a promoter for your fans? What do you want your fans to do? You want them to buy what you're selling, and I bought every single thing. That we talked in the lead up about like the idea of the return pop, or maybe a double pop. Like, you know, he pops up and then reveals himself, or you hear the music and then he comes out. This wasn't a double pop. This was just one sustained pop from the moment the music hit to the second he walks out, to the carrying on walking down. While I want to put over the announcers giving it the Hogan 96 back at the beach treatment, where they're like, yeah, but whose side is he on? Like, who's he here for? Corey explaining exactly why he's coming out, because, and even though I know, because of how like insider I think about all of this stuff, I know what he's there for. We've talked about it. The fans have talked about it. He's there to take out Solo Sikoa.
Yeah, we all figure War Games will likely be OG Bloodline versus Bloodline 2000.
On one of the 26 times I've watched this clip, Corey Graves talking about how he's there for Cody because he took it from it. Yeah, he could well be coming out for Cody Rhodes in that moment. That makes sense to me. Pat McAfee being like, nah, he's coming for Solo Sikoa. That also makes sense. even though there was no real suspense for me, the suspense was there, and I bought it.
Yeah.
Jacob Fatu potentially hurting himself, real. If it's fake, I bought it, and I bought it hard. I loved the nod, the tacit sort of acknowledgement of Cody, but also there was so much in that was in that and wasn't in that at the same time. There was kind of like a, yeah, I see you, I kind of a respect, but also a, we aren't done here kind of thing.
I'm back now.
All about that. What else you want from a promoter? You also want people to physically and literally buy things. I want that t-shirt. I want a t-shirt that says OTC. I'm so in. I'm so fanboy about this because it would have worked for me on about a bajillion different levels. Going into, the next phase of the Bloodline story, potentially the humbling of Roman Reigns, building him up as a babyface. I did see some people that replied to me on Twitter being like, oh, he's like abused his family for 3 years and now I'm supposed to think he's a babyface. It's wrestling, babe. These things happen.
Swerve Strickland kind of promo on a baby.
This part.
But he's now the AEW World Champion. He's like the top babyface in the promotion.
This is wrestling.
It's
wrestling
weird,
doesn't make you. This is something you don't have to think about because wrestling's not real.
Hangman's right.
Yeah.
But he's the baddie. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
He's the bad guy.
I am so here for the ideas that can come, like whether it's A, B, C, I don't know, I don't care. Like I'm so intrigued by what's next, and I thought this was a really, really effective moment. I am a little fanboy, and I am not going to apologize for it.
No, and nor should you, because this was awesome.
Yeah,
like we've been fantasy booking this for probably since WrestleMania. Really, we've been fantasy booking the return of Roman Reigns. He'll come back at SummerSlam, and you can build now towards War Games and stuff. But it really was awesome in execution. You could have done layers upon layers of having Paul Heyman come out or Jimmy come out, but really it was just about one guy. It just needed to be Roman Reigns.
Yeah, and it was also not the right time for like a Jay to come out and take out Jimmy, Jacob Fatu.
You don't need Jay.
Yeah.
It's just, like Jay's not, like you want to talk about people, am I supposed to just believe that Jay's going to go back now? You need to tell that story. Like that is a story I do believe you do need to tell. The reconciliation between Roman and Jay, that I think is a story that will now play out lovely on TV. Weird that he's on a different brand. Who knows what we're going to be doing there? But I don't. You're absolutely right. I wouldn't. Jay's not right to come out of this.
I was just thinking of like if there was going to be someone to take out Jacob Fatu, who do you pick? Well, it's Jay or Sami, and one of them's not in the arena. Jimmy maybe, but it's not the right time for him either. Like it's not. It was really well pitched.
Yeah.
And if we're like, I am looking at WrestleMania 41's main event, and in pencil it says The Rock versus Cody. I wouldn't be averse to a third Roman versus Cody, but this time it's face versus face. It's Roman Reigns having acknowledged himself and had that humility and put those sins to rest. Can I get it back? And it not being Cody's going to win this one. Oh wait, Cody has to win this one. Those are the first two. This third one is, which one of them's going to win it? I don't know. There's something to be said for it. I like all of the solutions and the branches. I'm intrigued.
Potentially, if you can do a face versus face, there is a potential world where you can have the Bloodline versus the American Nightmare Family, which is, by the way, at the start of this, we actually haven't talked about this yet.
Oh my god, Cody saw Roman's massively long entrances and went, I'm going to do that, but with side characters. Yeah. I'm going to do a quest.
Exactly, yeah. So Cody's entrance started on his bus.
Yeah.
And he got off the Lex Express, excuse me, picked up Pharaoh, his dog, walked with Pharaoh because...
Can we acknowledge the retirement of Pharaoh?
Yeah, we
the hero he deserves.
Yeah. So Pharaoh is retiring from travel.
Respects of Pharaoh.
Yeah, so he's going back home just to, live out his dog years.
Yeah.
And as he's walking with Pharaoh, he bumps into Arn Anderson, who announced that he was done with All Elite Wrestling. I don't know if he's back in WWE, but he was certainly here for this. Excuse me. And he then walked further down. There were other members of the Nightmare family putting the jacket on him and stuff. So you're kind of like building this faction, this idea, the thing that Cody's been doing for many, many years now, kind of like, pretty much since 2018. He did this at All In, the original All In. This idea that he has got his team behind him, like they do with boxing and UFC and stuff. So he came like at All In, he was like flanked by Glacier and Tommy Dreamer and Anna, because these are like, this is his crew. Diamond Dallas Page is another one, and Diamond Dallas Page was shown on this show. It was like in like a little legend skybox.
Fine.
Yeah, they had like a group of legends up there. So it was like DDP, the Steiners were there.
Was this on the show?
Yeah,
I missed it.
Yeah.
I've just been in the loop.
But so like this, you can have this Nightmare family behind Cody and this Bloodline family behind Roman, actual blood versus the blood that you choose.
Yeah.
You know, you can have Brandy within there as well.
Brandy's mum was there. Shout out to Brandy's mum.
Yeah, so you could do some, like, you know, something around that if you wanted to do a potential third Roman and Cody match. And, like, it doesn't have to be a WrestleMania thing. But we're definitely going to do a third Roman and Cody match at some point.
Somewhere.
And it will be babyface versus babyface. And I'm kind of in for it.
I think this was a slam dunk. I think it was an absolute victory.
Yeah. And the match itself was nothing.
But it wasn't about the match.
Yeah, that's it. It wasn't about the match, which means it probably didn't need as long as it got. But it was not about the match. It's kind of got a little bit of Backlash 2000 to it, which is that if you go back and watch that, it's legit one of my favorite main events in WWE history. But you can watch that show and you can see people literally looking down the ramp, waiting for Austin to come out. Yeah, and there's a little bit of that to this match, but all the stuff that came afterwards, basically from when the God interfere, is great.
I also think it
is obviously not as good as Roman and Cody was.
Yeah.
Because that didn't have the baggage of
stakes.
It didn't have the stakes to it. It also didn't have the baggage of I don't buy either of these guys as a potential champion. Whereas this one was like there's only one guy in this match that can actually win.
Yeah. I also think with all of that said, it's kind of a credit to them and also to the state of the company that we want Roman chants didn't take over the whole match. Do you know what I mean?
No.
Like there's
signs for it, but there was not.
And there were chants at the beginning of the match, and apparently there were massive chants during the promo being shown in the arena. But during the match itself, people were in. Yeah, and that's credit.
I thought it was a tremendous little main event. Let's see what you have to say about this. Amazingly enough, actually, I thought there would be more UltraChats coming in about this. Most people got thoughts about SummerSlam in general. We have got some chats to get through, but I thought there would be more talking about the Roman return and kind of fantasy booking the next phase of this. But we've actually only got one in so far, which is after all these years of fame. This is from Strix. After all these years of trying and failing, WWE finally got mega over babyface Roman Reigns, and Vince isn't even around for it. Maybe karma really does exist.
I think the fact that there is currently only the one chat about Roman specifically is because this feels not momentous in a game-changing moment. This feels like, we're here. This makes sense. This is good. This is the plan. We're sticking to it. So rather than it being swerve, shock, John Cena's back at Money in the Bank 2021, who saw that coming? This one we've seen coming, kind of like you said, from WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And it worked, and it was good, and it was the one. Elsewhere on the show, there's so many more developments and narrative storylines and things to talk about that do feel shocking, surprising, exciting, soap opera. Roman's return, while massive and deservedly so, is one of those where it's like, that one was great. Did you see the way Finn Balor did this? Did you see the way that,
we have this from Geek of Arabia, who said, SummerSlam was great and my predictions were entirely correct. Too bad I forgot to answer the tiebreaker question. Hard to give a best match here, but I'll go for Priest versus Gunther because Gunther was in it and he is awesome. Yeah, on my predictions, I got the ones I got wrong. Nia I got wrong because I went with the Bayley retention.
I got it right. I think I got them all.
Yeah, I think that was my...
Except maybe I picked Punk instead of Drew.
Oh, I picked Punk. Yeah, I picked Punk as well.
Yeah.
So I knew there was another one. I can't remember what the second one was. So those are the two I did get wrong. I got Nia and Punk wrong.
Yeah.
Lobi here said, SummerSlam over-delivered a very good show. There was interference in most matches, but I didn't mind. It felt natural for the most part. Highlight was Dom's heartbreaking betrayal. The grin on his face after the turn was amazing. He's truly despicable. And Emily here said, I'm really intrigued how Rhea is going to be booked now. She is not Dom's mummy. It's really curious about what they're going to do with Bayley now. Yeah, Bayley. Maybe we'll talk about Bayley in a little bit. We'll talk about Rhea Ripley in just a moment. In fact, actually, do you know what? Should we do that now? We'll do the rest of these Ultra Chats a little bit later on. So we can kind of like cover the show and then we'll cover all of your talking points as well. Before we do, however, got to throw for a word for this episode's sponsor, and that sponsor is you. Are you confused? Here's Ollie Davis to explain. Oh no, my button doesn't work.
Buddy, you did so well. You queued it up. You set it up
and everything.
And you just didn't spike
Someone's
it.
Been messing with my stream deck.
Devastating. I'll fill. Wow.
I've got to walk over here now like an absolute chump.
I've never been so embarrassed in my life. I feel like I'd like to apologize to you.
This episode... This episode is sponsored by you. Confused? Here's Ollie Davis to explain more.
I'm Ollie Davis, and I need you to support WrestleTalk. Unfortunately, YouTube ain't what it used to be, which is saying something. Not only is its advertising increasingly unreliable, there's now no guarantee the all-powerful YouTube algorithm will show our subscribers the videos we make. At the same time, our costs have massively increased due to inflation and all the essential behind-the-scenes bits you never see. It means we're making less money per video than we were several years ago. Some of our favourite shows to make, like the originals, Tables, Lists and Shares, Survival Series and 3 Count, have even started to lose us money. Every time we put out an episode, we're worse off. Which is why we need your help to keep doing what we do. From $2 a month, you can support us on patreon.com/WrestleTalk, where you'll get loads of exclusive videos like Survival Series 3 Count, Tables, Lists and Chairs, WrestleTalk Extra, and more. So if you've ever enjoyed watching our stuff, please do visit patreon.com/WrestleTalk to support us making more. Because remember, support WrestleTalk!
Yay!
I'm the Tamatonga of this place.
Yeah, put an F in the chat. F's in the chat. Also the Tonga lower.
Sorry, yeah. Oh, that was another botch for you.
There you go.
I did that one on purpose.
You did, yeah, sure.
It
was the eye patch.
Do you know what's annoying there? Is all my other buttons work.
Yeah, I know.
I know, look. That one works.
Well,
that one's
no,
broken as well.
the whole thing.
Who's broken all of this? Why have all my buttons been broken?
This is actually devastating.
So that one works.
That one's fine. Wow. Let's get ourselves back on the rails.
Cannot believe this. I blame Ben.
It almost certainly is to do with Ben.
Most certainly. I mean,
Yeah.
because they took all the stuff to do the live show with Hooked on Wrestling.
There you have
in
it. There you have
Shoreditch
it.
yesterday.
There you have it.
So it's probably Ben.
I think it's probably Ben.
Like, I could lay some blame at Ellis's feet,
It wouldn't be Ellis.
but I don't think it would be Ellis.
That's not within Ellis's
I just think
character.
it would be Ben.
It sounds like a Ben thing.
It does sound like a Ben thing to do.
Yeah.
Granted, you could possibly argue that some of the blame should go to my feet because I didn't check it beforehand.
Whoa. But
But-
that's because you put your trust in Ben.
But that's because I trusted Ben.
Never trust Ben. DTB. DTB, Austin.
That'll be our new t-shirt.
Yeah.
We'll do it in the same style as the Roman t-shirt. Everyone say F Ben in the chat. The show opened with Triple H coming out to open the show to welcome us to SummerSlam, and he introduced Jelly Roll, who welcomed us to SummerSlam, and then The Miz appeared in the crowd to welcome us to SummerSlam. I was like, lads, you had 3 hours of a pre-show. Could you not have done this on the pre-show?
Really helpful for me, though, because I hadn't got my snacks ready. So I was like, thank you for all of the, the faff.
Our opening contest for the Women's World Championship was Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they did set something up at the start of this match that was supposed to pay off later on in the broadcast. However, it didn't go to plan. They introduced the ref cam.
Oh, yeah.
So they showed that Eddie Orengo had a ref cam on. It's
Yeah.
not a WCW gimmick. So they would be able to cut to that.
It's like a sports thing these days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was sponsored by it as well. They didn't actually cut to it, I don't think, in this match. at
They did
all.
once. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
Just because it was...
That's it, because you couldn't see what was going on.
Yeah.
But the idea was that was going to pay off in the Seth match, because they put over that Seth was wearing it.
Mhm.
But apparently what happened is the battery ran out.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
Well, it's like the battery either ran out or it got disconnected.
Well, because
so
when...
Seth
do you remember when...
So Seth just took it off and they fobbed it off.
Because I punked through his jacket, and I thought that maybe I was like, uh-oh, that's going to have dislodged it, and now our ref cam is going to be pointing sideways. But if the battery just ran out, that's even funnier.
Yeah, so the battery either ran out or it got disconnected.
Look, you try things out. Sometimes they don't work.
Look
at this.
You know, I've got a thing to queue up. Oh no, that button doesn't work. Oh, sorry, I punched your... Where'd that fall?
Under your chair. Thank you so much.
So that was the new sponsored ref cam thing. We'll see if how much they use that down the line.
I mean, it wasn't the worst visual.
It's a good idea.
And again, these things happen in sports. So, fine.
They also highlighted that the last time Ripley was pinned in a singles match was like 26 months ago. And that person was Liv Morgan.
Good.
Yeah. Which is
Good
nice.
spot.
And when they said that, I was like, why wasn't this the story going into the match? Why didn't we have some more of this, really? So they did some stuff early doors where Liv was trying to bail from the match and Rhea kind of tricked her back into it and stuff. She would chase her a little bit and get frustrated. And then she charged at Liv Morgan, but Liv Morgan moved out of the way and Ripley posted herself. and she kind of knocked her shoulder again, the shoulder that she injured. So that was kind of bothering her. She eventually had to go outside and ram it into the announcer's desk to like pop it back in. But even then, it was clearly still bothering her.
Mhm.
She couldn't fully lock in the prism lock, for example, and things like that. But it was a lot of this was just beating down poor Liv Morgan, really, and just sort of like, battering her until she blew. I heard you in my head at one point during this, because there was a moment when they're on the outside. This is quite early in the match. And Rhea Ripley knocked Liv Morgan down. And then she went over and like put her arm around Dom and like kissed him and stuff. And I'm like, how are you the baby face again? How's Liv Morgan the heel in some of this? But we then got the moment towards the end of the match where Liv Morgan goes to the outside. She grabs a steel chair and she essentially just passes it to Rhea Ripley, trying to goad herself into getting herself DQ'd in this match. And Rhea Ripley, the emotions get the better of her. She lifts it above her head, and dirty Dominic Mysterio grabs the chair, and he takes it away from her. He's like, this is not helping you. You are going to get yourself DQ'd. Beat her. That's the way that we're going to win this belt. In all of this distraction and commotion, Liv Morgan hit the Oblivion for a brilliant near fall that the crowd completely bought. It was an awesome, awesome moment. And then Dom going at the other side of the ring, slid the chair in like he did at King and Queen of the Ring, distracted the referee, and Liv hit an Oblivion onto the chair to score the pinfall and retain her title. And afterwards they were putting over, it's like, this is just like, Dom's an idiot. Like, why can't the kid slide a chair in properly? He's an absolute moron. Like, he's screwed Rhea Ripley. What is going on here? And then Dominic Mysterio lifts Liv Morgan up, and he gives her a big old smoochy kiss. They were in on it all along.
This was... This did it for me. Look, I mean, much like the feud, this was more about the soap opera than it was about the actual wrestling, which is not meant to be a neg. Some of the wrestling here was real good. I enjoyed it. Liv Morgan's crucifix bomb in particular was really, really smart, and Rhea's brute force was lovely. So the actual wrestling of it was good as well, but it really was more about the drama and the soap opera, such that every single time that woman went close to Dominic Mysterio, I was like, oh, is this... What are we doing here? Or it was like an exercise in tantra half the time. Delayed gratification. It was will this be it, to the point where like when Dom with the Dom going for the chair thing, I was like, good, this is smart, Dom, you are right. One of the things I've liked about it is Dom helping Liv since the Becky Lynch era, because, or is it just he accidentally F's it up? Good intentions go wrong. Good intentions here were, Rhea, you can't win the title this way. You can't win the belt this way. I should take this off you. He was doing the right thing. So that if then that near fall, the reason it hit so well is because that drama was right there. Really effective stuff. So then there was a touch of the Canes and Litas about it, and the edges, when she slides the briefcase in, of the chair going in, and I was like, oh, and I was a little bit surprised by it, and I was like, oh, here we go. And I thought Rhea Ripley sold the emotion of it at the end of it brilliantly. Yeah. The heartbreak and the fury and the vengeance and, goodness gracious. I loved it. I thought this was an excellent opening to the show. Perfect call to have Liv retain, to do it in this manner. My brain instantly starts whirring to the next episode of the soap opera, which we do get later on in the show. It's going to be a big roar for the Judgment. Slam dunk. This was great. Yeah. I've said that a couple of times. I will probably say that a lot this episode. This was a great SummerSlam. So, this was a brilliant opener. I said in the edited review, I'm not into this story. Yes, I know. It's doing very little for me currently. I feel like it's taken a slight focus away from the Women's World Championship. I think part of that's actually not really on this storyline. It's more about the fact that Liv hasn't done anything with the belt since she... You could have had both. That's what I mean. You could have had both. Yeah. They chose to just do one of them. And it's a story that has been in chapter 1 for 3 months. So I'm now glad that it's moved into chapter 2. So thumbs up for me on that aspect for it. I may not be into this, but I understand that I am in the minority, and this crowd were like going ballistic for this. I thought as well the commentary sold this moment really, really well. Like Pat McAfee in particular, like screaming that he's a piece of S. And like Michael Cole being like, I knew it was not to be trusted. Like I knew these guys are scumbag. I've been saying this since 2005. This kid's a scumbag. Yeah. He didn't say in 2005. He was actually on his side in 2005. He was a child. But so I thought they actually sold the moment very, very well. And like I said, I have just also been asking for weeks on end on Raw now is for this to get to the next bit. Because it has just been doing the same thing week on week on week on week on week. And now we are moving into the next chapter. So I'm very, very pleased about that. That's a plotting thing. That's a pacing thing, and you're gonna get, this was the end point. how do we get there? And maybe the getting there hasn't been the simplest or the easiest route, but the cathartic, if you're in the storyline, which I am, and not to turn this into a tribalistic whatever, I saw someone else tweet that like AEW and WWE are sort of like moving away from each other in terms of style, and that is only for the good, because we need variety. It's important in wrestling. And for me, I'm very tuned into this kind of soap opera, reality TV drama nonsense, and it works for me in a way that, just going out there and having a classic match still works for me, but in a different way. So I can completely understand if you're not into the soap opera element of it, but if you are,
that's it.
Chapeau.
And you can tell that people are into this. And soap opera storylines have always done well within pro wrestling, because people like soap operas.
Yeah.
And wrestling, what is wrestling but a soap opera with more, well, I suppose soap opera have fights as well, but there's less clothes.
There are.
In pro wrestling. There's less clothes than there are in soap operas.
Yeah.
So I totally get it from that aspect of it. Honestly, I think my thing is just that I've been waiting for this storyline to get to the next phase of it. And we're now there. So now I'm actually looking forward to Raw, because I'm now excited to see what the next phase of this looks like, particularly with what happens later on in the Gunther match. Like a lot of SummerSlam was built around the Judgment Day will not be the same after SummerSlam. And we are now seeing essentially the implosion of the group. And we'll see what happens come Raw. And I'm actually really excited to see. For the first time, probably since, oh man, when is it? When was the last time I was excited to see a Judgment Day segment?
Probably when Dom joined them.
Yeah, it might be, where I'm like, I can't wait to watch Raw to see.
They went from spooky jobbers to being a really entertaining act. And I will say, this never happened when R-Truth was in the group. But yeah, they came a point last summer where it just was the same stuff. And it was never to do with the people involved. It just felt like whatever. Whereas, yeah, now I'm like, I'm very excited.
Yeah, this group has been breaking up for 18 months, and now we're there.
Yeah.
We then had, so backstage, speaking of, in the Judgment Den, Damian Priest freaking out about this because he's the babyface within the group, and Rhea Ripley's the other babyface, and the rest of them are heels. So he's freaking out about this. Where's Dom? I want to speak to Dom. And he kind of like, in the heat of the moment, kind of insults Finn Balor in a lot
What
of
did he
this.
say?
I can't exactly remember what it was, and I did not write it down either.
I'll look for it.
It's just that Balor was upset about
Yeah.
it, and then Priest kind of had to try and apologize to him. They cleared the air later on, but Balor was like, we'll go find him, which I think is probably quite key to a lot of this. We'll see on tomorrow, tomorrow's Raw. We then had a proper little sprint of a IC title match. It was less than 6 minutes. Sami Zayn versus Bron Breakker for the IC title. And I was a little let down by this match.
Sami and Bron?
Yeah. Because the story... I don't think this really like matched the story that they were telling going in. And I think part of that is hurt by the fact they did the Money in the Bank match, which I don't think in hindsight you needed to do in order to get to this match here. And I think you could have done the build that you did going into Money in the Bank and then do Bron destroying Sami Zayn and winning the belts. And I think that would have done more for it than Sami beating him, then Sami getting the better of Bron at every turn, and then Bron just beats him at the pay-per-view. I don't really get what the story they were telling in this match was. Granted, it was 5.5 minutes, so it's hard to like tell a compelling story within that match. But it was just they traded moves back and forth, and then Bron won. So I don't really feel like this accomplished the story that they were telling going into it. But it didn't match the build.
I know what you mean. I think that's fair. I think it's hard for me to look past what I liked about it, which is... So, Bron Breakker is still a rookie, like, realistically. Has had an incredible NXT run, is a monster on the main roster already. We can sort of see it. He's got acres of it factor. But he has moments like in this match where he fell on his forehead, and the other day when he was doing the Breakensteiner and nearly fell on his head, and the time that he ran the ropes and ran so fast he phased through the ropes and nearly, decapitated himself. I saw this as a sort of hot-headed young gun versus the older guy who gets it more in Sami Zayn. And Sami Zayn got the better of him in Money in the Bank, and now it's Bron Breakker's time to realize that and learn the next thing. I think you're it's a fair assessment that you're making. I just didn't.
I
didn't care.
Well, that's it. I don't feel like neither do I. In all fairness, because like the end result of this is that Bron won the IC title, which is completely the right call.
Yeah.
And it's Sami needs to lose the belt because he's likely going into bloodline related stuff, so he doesn't need to have the IC title kind of being a bit of an anchor around his neck for that. So it makes sense for Bron to win. Bron is completely the right call here. It's just the story they were telling into this was what you had laid out there, which is that Bron's this hot-headed rookie and Sami's the wily veteran. That's how Sami Zayn beat him at Money in the Bank, is because Bron was too hot in the head and Sami took advantage of that. And then when they were doing in the weeks leading up to it was Bron thought that he had learnt more, but as we saw on Raw going into it, Sami is always one step ahead. Every time he tried to ambush him, Sami just took him out. And so Bron just got frustrated with that. So in this match, they just traded moves back and forth and then Bron won.
I disagree with that.
So I don't really feel like they told that story.
I don't agree with that, because for me it started with him going for the spear and Sami moved out of the way, but then he also was then able to move out of the way of the haluva kick. There was moments where Sami was going for the Blue Thunder Bomb and he reversed out of that one. There was something where there were moments in this match where I felt the point of it was he had paid enough attention and not underestimated Sami Zayn and figured it out, and that's why he was able to get the win. That's what I thought this match was. So it was functional in that it was 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But it was also, for me, a very... Yeah, it's entry level. I'm not saying it broke any ground, but it did, for me, what I thought was the logical conclusion to this month's story of this.
I think that's completely fair.
Yeah.
it's not how I saw the match, but I completely take your point, and I'll appreciate that I might be wrong on this one. I am often, so I completely take that. But yeah, like this didn't work for me as a match.
Yeah.
But we got the result we needed.
Yeah, and I think that
I think you sort of need a bit more time.
It's the person who this belt should be on right now.
Yeah, 100%.
I thought about this little, I'm like catchphrase boy today, but like the title doesn't make the man doesn't make the title, but the title and the man can make each other kind of thing. And in this moment, the belt on Bron Breakker is the perfect statement. I feel like if you look at the title picture of where we're at, it's the perfect sort of statement of intent of what we're looking to do. The Intercontinental Championship is around the waist of the premier young talent that you have right now.
It's also put on the premier beefy boy in a division, and what I really excites me about Raw is that it is a mid-card of beefy boys.
And then Dragunov.
Well, but Dragunov is a beefy boy.
I call him live.
Because he is a beefy boy and he has beefy boy matches.
Yeah.
Is that he is not the same size as Bronson Reed, but he hits harder than Bronson Reed because he is a mad dragon.
The Batter Boys.
Yeah, I get it, and that's it. We are now going onto the Batter Bus, and we are just getting honestly, I will call it this, and I can't see any problem with this. I'm all aboard the Banger Bus for this one, and I think we're going to have a great time with all the Banger Bros. I just don't see any issue with saying any of this on a podcast that is live and being broadcast.
Fabulous Banger Bus.
Yeah, the fabulous Banger Bus. The Banger Bus is coming, and everybody's jumping. New York to San Francisco, we're having bangers all over the place. They're going to bang each other hard. Because it's Bron, it is Dragunov, it is Bronson, it is Sheamus, it is Pete Dunne, and they are just going to bang each other hard and fast and loose, and it's going to be rad, and I can't wait.
You must be stopped.
Stephanie McMahon was shown in the crowd.
Yeah, good for her. She bought 2 seats next to her, so there was no... And I respect that hustle.
Smart.
Yeah, that's what I'd do.
Yeah, we did that for the Rev Pro show on All In Weekend.
Big time.
We need 4 tickets, but there's a group of 5 there. That's one spare seat next
Somewhere
to me.
for the bags. I just think it's a smart call.
It's also in case Dan wanted to come.
Yeah.
And need a spare seat for
I hold the bags.
We then had, for the United States Championship, Logan Paul versus LA Knight. Logan Paul, determined to make sure he was booed in his hometown, not that he needed the extra help, brought out MGK with him.
Who's that?
I believe he's a rap called Machine Gun.
Is he married to Megan Fox? Is that the same person? Or is that someone else?
No, it was Shia LaBeouf, wasn't it?
No, I'm
thinking of Transformers, sorry.
You talk, I'll check.
I just know that Kevin Owens once powerbombed him off the stage. And he has got a look about him that I reckon he's a proper knob.
Yeah. Married to Megan Fox. Thank you very much.
You know when you just look at someone who's like, I bet you're a twat. Like,
you don't just say it while I'm on the podcast with you.
But I had the complete opposite when I saw you. And I was like, that's someone who I just know is a nice guy.
They've called their engagement off.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Did she realise he's a twat?
Mate, I couldn't possibly say. He says he has anarchy tattooed on his stomach, but he's not a political person.
I stand by my point then. He might be a nice lad, but I have the same feeling about him that I do Jeff. I bet he was a knob.
Who's Jeff?
Jeff in the white t-shirt. Logan Paul's mate. We all know Jeff in the white t-shirt. Logan Paul's mate.
I cannot tell you how little I think about these people.
He's been at multiple WWE shows.
Oh, is he the one with the brass nugs?
As Jeff in the white t-shirt.
The brass nugs, like brass chicken nuggets. He's
Dominic Mysterio. Sorry, what's this? They brawled before the bell because LA Knight came out of the Primobile and he smashed the window of it and said, "I'm now coming for your belt." Did a torture rack neck breaker on the table, which was quite cool. Logan Paul at one point did the alley-oop in this match, which was Big Show's old terrible finish, so 5-star match. I feel this was a basic match carried by a very hot crowd.
Yeah.
Because this was a crowd that was super into cheering LA Knight and super into booing Logan Paul. So they didn't actually have to do a lot in the match. They could just do the fundamentals and it would carry them through. You know, Logan Paul did his shtick. He did a big springboard twisting moonsault thing, which was very cool. They did a gnarly landing off a superplex.
Oh my
which
God,
Logan Paul took like it was a muscle buster. It was really, really weird. Knight then goes outside and he brawls with Jeff in the white t-shirt. Jelly Roll was there as well, but I don't think he was involved in any of this.
No, because Jelly Roll's a babyface.
Because he's a babyface. And in all of this commotion, Machine Gun Kelly gave the brass knucks to Logan Paul. Logan Paul hit LA Knight with that, but LA Knight effectively no-sold it and reversed the buckshot lariat into the BFT, and he got the win. And he won the United States Championship.
God for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have loved seeing the outpouring of positivity and support for LA Knight from people all over the industry. Like, you know, I think Trevor Lee, formerly Cameron Grimes, was talking about it. John Morrison was talking about how emotional he wasn't happy for him because he's a guy who puts in the work and does the and has sort of just, you know, ridden storms and waves and found his way to this position and deserves it kind of thing. And I thought that was really sweet. I also thought as you say, the crowd elevated what was for me a fairly standard match. Logan Paul has relied a lot in his career on like high spots and athleticism, especially, you know, feuding with like a Ricochet or a Seth Rollins. LA Knight's a different type of wrestler. Although that said, he's added a whole load more I'm a jump from here to here LA Knight moments, including that, you know, super muscle buster, brain buster situation. And, you know, I think he hopped from one point, he's facing inwards on the middle rope, hops to the top rope to do an elbow drop. And I was like, oh, I'd fall off. Well done. I've been watching Simone Biles. She's very good at that.
Oh, yeah. I saw I see you're a flag shagger now. So
I've got my flag out because of the Olympics.
Posted, well, I mean, you say it's for the Olympics. But you posted up on your stories yesterday. You got a big old UK flag.
Look,
there
Team
now.
GB and Northern Ireland. We have to support them. You know, they're not.
I just didn't have you pegged as a flag shagger. It's all.
My flags come out during the football and the sports, and then they go back in the drawer to gather dust for a year or Eurovision. Sometimes, but yeah, no. I loved seeing that positivity around LA Knight. I think it is vastly deserved. I think it is far beyond due. Last year, he kind of had to win the Slim Jim Battle Royal because he'd already signed the deal to support Slim Jim, so they needed to win. But you know, here we are. We've arrived at the moment. I wrote down Logan's reign as the anti-Gunther. You know how Gunther would have like these 5-star matches with everybody and really elevate that title. Logan took this title, went away, and made me think so little of it. It was a smart choice right at the beginning. It outstayed its welcome. He only defended it twice. Now was the time. I'm looking forward to, as you say, that, you know, the Banger Bus is coming in the IC division. I hope something similar happens on SmackDown with this because
I mean, they've got the roster there for it.
Exactly,
have a really solid
they need something to do. Like Carmelo and Andrade having yet another great match on the weekend. Like, good.
Yeah. Although it's you know, it's a very weird time with Logan Paul at the moment. We won't get into any of that right now. But Michael Cole after this was like, man, what an incredible US title reign for Logan Paul.
Which is weird because during the match he'd kind of crapped on it.
Yeah, and I'm like, are we saying this is an incredible title reign?
Yeah.
Like, because he even says, like, what an incredible title reign for Logan Paul. I know he didn't defend it a lot, but, like, well, you know, an incredible run.
I get that you've got to sell it and you've got to put it over in defeat, otherwise it doesn't make it seem like an achievement for LA Knight, but let's be honest.
But you can put it over as, like, he has saved the United States Championship because this guy has been holding it hostage and not defending it.
Yeah.
And now honor can be restored to this once great title. So I thought that was an odd little way to end off this segment. We then had Alpha Academy backstage doing a Manscaped sponsorship. Watch yourselves, lads. That's one of our sponsors. So back off.
I just want to say here and now, I will not be doing an advert like that one.
No?
It was a little bit too much for me.
Bit too crass for you?
Not crass, just so much. Just much. Just much.
We then got for the WWE Women's Championship, Nia Jax versus Bayley. Here's a fun fact for you. This is Nia Jax's first SummerSlam match.
Yeah, she was very chuffed about it on the press conference afterwards. Yeah,
that was great.
Yeah,
congratulations to her. Corey,
they had all the little graphics of people's SummerSlam records on them. My favorite one was Drew McIntyre's, where it said Drew's record at SummerSlam 2-1. This is his 4th SummerSlam match. Thank you. I've done the maths. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Corey hoped that Bayley brought her a helmet with her.
Why?
Because Nia Jax keeps dropping people on her head.
Ah, I see. Yeah. I see.
This was very similar to their London match, and I mean that as a positive, because that was there was callbacks to the London match. I actually meant to say on the prediction show we did for this that people should probably watch the London match.
Required reading.
Yeah, a little bit, not required reading, but certainly watch that, because there'll probably be some stuff they do in this match. In the same way as watch SummerSlam 1997 before you watch the Punk Drew match, because there'll be some stuff within there. It's not needed context. But it's helpful because
it'll enrich the experience.
When they did the guillotine spot, which is the finish to the London match, it's really, really cool because they told an excellent little story within that moment, which is that Bayley went to the finish that she knows can put her away, but this is not the same Nia Jax she beat in 2015. This is now a very different Nia Jax, nearly a decade. I can't believe that. Nearly a decade later. And she is now much more powerful than she was before. So she managed to muscle out of the guillotine with relative ease. I thought that was a really, really cool moment, because I think that really pays off. That's, it's rewarding for fans. It's rewarding for, I've watched these people grow and I've watched these people wrestle for 10 years plus now. And that's awesome to kind of get that payoff.
It was great. And I wish that they'd done more of that throughout the feud, really, because when that moment is happening and they're selling it on the commentary, and in fact, that's a tail of the tape for this whole match, to be honest with you. I wish that they'd done more of it, done more with it, because it was a really cool moment. And exactly as you say, selling Nia as a near decade later, stronger, been through stuff and is now ready. I wish they'd done more with it.
So they did do in this match a spot where Nia Jax charged into the corner, Bayley moved out of the way, and she posted herself. And this is the 4th match on the card, and it's the 3rd time they had done that spot where someone would then send on the shoulder afterwards. This is so unlike WWE. Caveat: so unlike WWE. ... into this new era. In the Vince era, this thing would have this happened all the time, where
the same spot
in matches that would sort of follow on over each other. It was so weird. When Nia Jax did that, I was like, the 3rd one in your first 4 matches.
You know how the DDT used to be a finisher and now it's just sort of an early stage match. Maybe this is the same thing with the post. That's just a standard move now. They teach the international and then they teach you that.
They teach the charging into the corner, moving out the way, and you hurt your shoulder. Where do we get to? Jax caught Bayley on a dive to hit a Samoan drop on the floor. Bayley managed to do a sort of a staggering walking powerbomb to Nia Jax, that was really cool. Tiffany Stratton ran down, and Bayley stopped her from cashing in. Nia took advantage of the distraction and the commotion to hit 2 more Annihilators. She'd already hit 1 and Bayley had kicked out. She hit 2 more Annihilators for the win. So Nia Jax is your new WWE Women's Champion. Tiff and Nia celebrate while Tiffany sort of looked up at the belts. So you got this cool dynamic now of the WWE Women's Champion and the briefcase holder for a shot at the WWE Women's Championship whenever she wants. Our partnership, they're in cahoots. This is what you pitched on the SummerSlam predictions. Very well done to you.
Thank you so much.
And I like that, and I think it's a very cool story. But then I was looking at Bayley as sort of outside on the floor, and I was like, I wished more for you. Because I don't think you really got enough out of this title run after your year-plus long storyline as your journey to win it.
Yeah. I agree with that. First of all, the right call for the winner and for the final tableau. I really like the fact that Nia gave Tiffany the briefcase and that Nia is the irresistible force, this unstoppable, behemoth. And the briefcase winner is going to have to keep close by if she wants to have a chance of cashing it in while Nia's got the belt, because, as we've seen, the woman will annihilate anything and everyone in her path. I thought this match was real good, actually.
I enjoyed this match a lot.
I thought it deserved more heat, but that's the fault of the time it's been given, the attention it's been given, and kind of that's, to your point, the situation with Bayley's whole run, really, which has been not the most attention, not the most creative direction, but always the most in the matches, like
yeah.
whether it was WrestleMania or France.
That three-way at France, I adored.
Exactly, and
I got some heat for saying that it was one of the better matches of the night because I thought it was absolutely awesome.
And then here we are with this one as well, where I'm like, for me, this kind of that moment where she holds Nia in that powerbomb and she's there for a while. I really can't stress. It's not one of those where it's like, oh, I have the brief moment where I'm walking forward to it, make it look like it's a power move. No, it really was. She held her there for a while. Then it had this incredible shot where it kind of like pushed into her and she sort of like sat in the ropes and then she's going to climb up and she's going to do the elbow drop. And it reminded me, I was like, oh, this is why we fell in love with you. It made me flashback like that moment in Ratatouille when he goes all the way back to his younger self. And I was like, it was 2015 again. I'm watching TakeOver Brooklyn or I'm watching TakeOver London and I'm remembering why Bayley is...
Why she's our girl.
Why, like literally, and why she is responsible for a match that we both consider one of our favorites of all time. Like she's so good and is so good at getting the crowd to believe in her as this underdog. And they did here. They went from being slightly less on their feet, rowdy. Maybe that's a stadium thing. I don't know. But by the end of it, they were so in. And then, to kick out of the Annihilator, one of the more protected finishes, recently seen spatchcocking Lyra Valkyria, it needed 3 Annihilators in the end to take her out and an interference from Tiffany Stratton. So in that regard, Bayley is the Bayley we always knew. I just wish that the brain had been what I wanted it to be. I think I worked myself into a shoot and all these things. I'm sure she's perfectly happy to be, spearheading the division, putting in these matches. Maybe not. Maybe she wants more for herself. I don't know. I have no insider knowledge on any of that. But, I had all these images of her coming back as the hugger at some point, and this gear was hugger gear.
Very hugger-esque.
The fringe, the fact that it wasn't combats, it was tights.
Which I feel, again, is probably a bit of a callback to London.
Yeah, exactly. And I just, I loved the match. I loved Bayley's contribution to it, and I don't want her to get lost in any shuffles.
Well, that's kind of my thoughts on this as well, actually. To kind of echo what you were just saying then, is that on reflection, I think this is the right call.
Yeah.
I think Nia Jax having that belt with Tiffany Stratton at her side with the Money in the Bank briefcase is a good idea. This is kind of what we were pitching for Judgment Day.
Yeah, exactly.
Balor wins the world title and he's in the same group with the guy with the Money in the Bank briefcase. I think there's a really good story to be told there. But at the same time, I'm looking at it, I was like, I just think Bayley's run just deserved more. So I'm glad, I think both of those things are true for me at the very least. This is a very cool direction to be heading. I'm sad for what we didn't get in this title reign. There's a year plus long journey to winning back this WWE Women's Championship, and she had it for 3 months, and she's just lost it again.
It did make it feel more like a thank you, Bayley, from Triple H.
Yeah, exactly. For your hard work during the pandemic when you were literally carrying this company on your back.
And a recognition from you from above. Because we know that he's got a huge amount of affection for her. It's not...
He's not buried. This is not buried Bayley. I'm sure there will be some people who would look at this and be like, what an absolute burial of Bayley. But it wasn't. It wasn't a burial of Bayley.
People who saw the Drew Punk match as a burial of Drew, so we'll talk about that in a minute.
Okay, well, some people will just say anything. This was not a burial of Bayley, but I do think that she deserved more out of this. But it's not a burial by any stretch of the imagination. Speaking of, we got Drew McIntyre versus CM Punk.
This is the one that the only one in my notes that took a double-page spread. So I have a lot to say about this. I loved this match.
Well, I've got a lot of time for double-page spreads, so we can get into all of that. This is where they revealed that Seth did have his ref cam, but it didn't come into play later on at all. I think it was probably just to show
He got 2 moments of it.
Yeah.
And including an incredible shot of CM Punk while he was spinning around and getting ready to say, let's go. And Punk just sort of in the corner like this. And it was like, POV, you're Jack Perry.
I'm going to put over both these guys in Punk and Drew. No lock-up to start.
Just
straight for the fist. Wonderful stuff.
And can I just, before we get into the bits of it, my heart was pounding at this moment. Punk has come out
in black and pink.
He's in his great, Seth's in his great ref gear. Works for me, brother. Loved those trousers. Would wear. Drew's coming out and looking like the actual monster he is and standing there with a fire behind him. Punk comes out in black and pink. And I realized this was the first time that Punk has had a singles, a proper match entrance in 10.5 years. Rumble
in WWE.
Yeah. The Rumble entrance doesn't count. But like when you think that I never thought I'd see that.
Oh yeah,
you know,
100%.
So yeah, within WWE, sure. But like even so, like in that moment, I was like, Christ, this is wild.
I just want to make sure because there are enough pedants online. Televised.
Oh yeah,
match.
well yeah.
Dude, I know. You and I know. We know. But there are people out there that be like, actually, I think you'll find, Dan. They had 2 matches with Dominic Mysterio.
And if you look on TikTok, you can find them.
You can actually go and look at them online. If you go to cagematch.net, I think you'll find, actually, if you look at it correctly, Dan, if you did your job.
I simply don't.
I
don't do my job.
I nearly went into my actually voice there for your old man down the pub. I think you're actually fine if you think about it.
There is a Venn diagram.
There's a little bit of, actually, I think if you really think about it.
I don't like these men in the pub. I want to leave them there.
I think that if you're paid £100,000 a week to kick a football, you should probably be able to get it over the first person when you're doing a corner. I watched the Euros final in the pub. I heard a lot of these conversations.
Anyway, so he's doing this entrance. He's wearing the black and pink. I'm losing my mind. The bell rings and Seth luxuriates in ringing the bell, setting out his stall, having them separate, and they're just kind of staring at each other. And I'm leaning forward and my heart is pounding and I'm so ready. And oh my God, think of the wilderness in which we were wandering. Like, I am a WWE fan. As well as a wrestling fan, I am a WWE fan. And how long were we walking and wanting and dreaming of a time when it would feel this good? And here I am, and here it is. And I just was like, in the moment. And then they started battering each other.
They really went in for it. I actually wrote in my notes at one point here, this is our only match on the show which didn't have a title on the line.
Yeah.
But it did.
Yeah.
There was a bracelet. Which some might argue is actually a richer prize.
There you go.
Than some of the titles in WWE. I'd argue probably than the women's tag titles and the Raw tag titles.
Well, arguably, this was for the lineal real AEW World Championship.
So it was. Congratulations, Drew, by the way.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of like Seth was. They were kind of like battering each other on the outside and stuff, and like Punk threw Drew into the steps and like kicked his head into the steps while Seth was just like, I'm just gonna go tie my shoes over here. And then Drew did a slingshot to Punk into the underneath the sort of the metal bracket of the ring. And again, Seth was like, oh no, sorry, I didn't see that happen.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. So he was like calling it down the middle by not taking anyone's sides. It was quite wonderful in that way. By letting them both cheat.
He was sort of sat on the ropes, luxuriating, watching it, being like, haha, this is fun. I kind of liked that.
They did the SummerSlam 97 spot, everyone, where they got a chair and Seth took the chair off of Drew, went to swing it at him, nearly hit Punk. So Punk, even though he was in black and pink, took the taker role in this. And actually, which I thought was quite a nice swerve.
Yeah.
Because everyone's been looking at Punk as the Brett of this. I think Punk, knowing that, did the Brett colors for his tights, which made it all the better when he kind of became the taker of the story instead.
3 people in the 3 of them obsessed with wrestling. Don't you just want to be in the room where they're plotting this out?
Yeah.
Like the idea of getting that 97 fake out in early, just because I think they know.
All been exactly, because we've all been talking about it.
Exactly. They know we've all been thinking
they've all got their burner accounts and saying like, I don't go on Twitter. All right, Phil.
Yeah. So like the fact that they were then like let's just get it out of the way. Let's just do it. A knowing reference and not, and then we're going to plot out the rest of the match. And what a plot!
So Punk made his comeback. He did get a visual pin in this moment as well, but Seth was distracted by taking the chair out of the ring. Punk makes his comeback. He hits his terrible elbow drop for a near fall, and he transitions straight into the Anaconda Vice. And a really good visual here. He spots the friendship bracelets. That's become quite a key item. A Horcrux within this match. I've never read the books.
It's not a Horcrux, but
no,
sure.
I've never read the books.
You can eat MacGuffin. It's fine.
MacGuffin. I know what that is.
Yeah, there you go.
And I can actually use that correctly.
Yeah.
I just thought I'd try something different. I hear the books are shit. So I don't know. But anyway, so he spots that and he lets go of the hold because he wants the friendship bracelet. Seth, kind of like knowing that this is going to cause a distraction within the match, takes it upon himself to remove that as a factor.
Because it's just in the ring.
It's in the ring. So he takes it and he puts it on his wrist.
Just put it out of the way.
Just putting it out of the way. I'm not disrespecting it by throwing it out of the ring. I'm actually protecting. I'm not putting it in my pockets where I might forget that it's there.
Let's look at, aside from the fact that he was wearing trousers that had at least 7 pockets. Like,
dude, I put stuff in my pockets all the time and I forget that it's there. And then you put your jeans on it when it comes around to December and you're like, wow, there's a tenner in here.
Yeah, lovely.
Back
what a day that is.
We used to carry cash. And Punk then distracted himself with that because he went to hit the GTS and saw that Seth had the bracelet. And he's like, are you screwing with me? Bearing in mind, he's missed a visual pin earlier in the match. He's like, are you just trying to screw with me here? And Seth sort of fires back in being like, no, I'm doing my job. Like, I'm just protecting this. It's not, there's nothing wrong with that. And Seth and Drew collide. Punk hits a GTS. So he has another visual pin, but Seth is late back into the ring to count that. So Drew kicks out. And Punk again is at Seth being like, are you screwing with me? And Punk at this point here just gets in his own way. And the story of this match has been that Punk has screwed Drew at every opportunity he can so that Drew does not become the world champion. And in this moment, Punk screwed himself from beating Drew McIntyre. Because if he'd have just focused and stayed on what was doing and not got in his own head with his own Punk derangement syndrome, that he's the main character, he could have had this match won. But he got in his own way, he became his own distraction, and Drew was able to hit the Claymore. He low-blowed him and he hit the Claymore and he got the win.
Yeah. I thought this was so tasty.
I thought this was excellent.
So good. Because, first of all, when Punk gets that Anaconda Vice on, Drew is real selling it, like screaming, like this is the most painful submission he's ever been in. So you kind of believe, well, he might tap out here. And then the crowd start cheering even harder for the bracelet, taking the bracelet off. Then we get the whole, there was, I thought Seth did such a fantastic job. There's a moment where there's a Claymore near fall and he counts the 2 and he looks shocked he didn't get the 3. He's been on the receiving end of that. So he knows what it feels like. But the power of the Claymore then later on for Seth to crawl into the ring and get the 3, I thought was really good.
A reluctant 3 as well. It was like 1, 2.
But it is a 3.
3.
It was always going to be a reluctant 3 for either guy. I loved the, once again, soap opera drama of this bracelet. I could almost, I know for some people, this kind of soap opera pro wrestling is not what they want in their pro wrestling, and that's completely fine.
Absolutely fine.
For me, it works.
This works.
Gangbusters.
This works. While the Rhea stuff doesn't work for me, this works for me. This has got true emotion and passion in it. And
I just sort of imagined, and I haven't seen anything, and I quite like it, but I kind of imagined these whole, they're feuding over a bracelet. Why is he looking at that bracelet thing? And I kind of expected that, and I'd expected some of those takes, but the reality of it for me is that it's not, this bracelet is an emblem of, if I may, everything Punk ever was, ever is, and ever will be. Because it's not only the connection he has with his family, AJ and Larry, and he carries it all over the world when he's on the road. It's we all have those little trinkets. It's also a connection with the fans because a fan made it for him. It's also a physical symbol of how Punk just will never get out of his own way. The blurring of reality and fiction that these 2 have played with, these 3 have played with, since Punk came back, Seth they even showed a clip of it, Seth in War Games, screaming. Did you watch the Michael Cole interview?
No.
By the way, fantastic. Really, really good, complete 10 minutes long, completely produced WWE, it's not like a behind the scenes documentary. This should be on television. I want them to make more of it because it felt real, it felt authentic, it made me so, I was salivating for this match.
I thought someone was coming in for a second as well.
At all.
We're the only people here.
Yeah. Oh, this is a Sunday. But with all of that going into
like
it,
pictures in Harry Potter, am I right?
You must not. Showing Seth screaming at War Games and remembering all of those. Drew stormed out, and they're playing with the reality and the fiction of it. Drew posting a picture with goddamn Jack Perry about a week ago. Yeah. And deleting it.
Beautifully then deleting it. Yeah. Like, CM Punk got really mad about it and he had to delete it.
Thank you.
And then it turns out it's like, no, Punk just approves everything that goes up and he thinks it's a really good way to build heat and drama for the match.
That part, the idea that exists that Punk is that fragile ego kind of person is exactly why this bracelet is that. Because for him, it is... Seth earnestly saw a thing, picked it up, and was like, I'll give it to you at the end of the match. He freaked out because for him, that is a show of disrespect so heinous. He's always, everyone's against me. You're all against me. Everyone's against me. That kind of fragile ego, real glass, apology must be as loud and public as the disrespect thing. He's playing that so smartly. He's really using that in this story. And then when Seth is getting in his face in return, I thought this was great. He's screaming and he's saying, like, it's my ring, I'm the ref, it's my rules. And then he says, my company. That, like, felt like that slipped out.
Yeah.
Like, he's really, really angry in this moment.
That was his true emotions.
And out comes my company. We don't want you. It stop being a dickhead. Stop being like, I'm the one in charge. I'm the guy. And it turned into, we don't want you here. We never needed you here.
We never wanted you back.
This is my company.
You are a cancer to this.
I was so struck by my company that I like leant in again, and I'm like on the edge of my seat.
Edge of your seat stuff this whole time.
I just thought it was absolutely fantastic. And so this, yes, maybe they are feuding over a bracelet, but now Drew McIntyre has got to win. I don't think Punk is going to be thinking about that next week. He's going to be thinking about Seth Rollins. Why? Because Seth Rollins was the most recent person who insulted his fragile ego. He's playing into it. These characters are so well conceived. These three, I would give anything to be in the room when they're plotting it, because I think it would just be a masterclass in the art of professional wrestling. I absolutely loved this whole thing.
It's far and away my favorite thing on the show.
Yeah.
I absolutely adored this from start to end. And this match had a lot of, I would say, what's the word I'm after here? It had a lot of, there's a bad way to phrase this, so I appreciate it. You'll be able to find what I'm trying to say here. A lot of hills to climb, effectively, in that it's Punk's first singles match, televised in WWE in over 10 years. It's his first one back since his latest injury. It's the culmination of this storyline that was starting since the Royal Rumble that kind of got hampered because of that injury, but that they've then factored that into it. It's the culmination of Drew being screwed over 3 times. It's Seth Rollins. There's kind of a culmination of what happened at War Games when he came back. There was so much that this had to kind of overcome and deliver, and I think it over-delivered. I really do think this was absolutely masterful.
I'll give you the perfect analogy.
Please
and
do.
because we're in the middle of the Olympic Games, it is a sports-based one. In gymnastics, you do a vault, and if it's particularly complicated, you get a difficulty score, and the difficulty rating is multiplied the score, so that's how you get a bigger thing. The difficulty rating of this match was through the roof. Like, it was so complicated.
I cannot wait for the Olympics to be over.
Oh my god, just enjoy sports.
So tired of you talking about the Olympics.
I literally haven't seen you while the Olympics have been on this week.
Dan, you have. You've been in the office multiple times, and you've been watching things. You actually abandoned a date that we could have had because you wanted to watch the Olympics.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, that was.
I'm so ready for the Olympics.
I really like sport. Look, the difficulty rating. You're so right of this match. It had so many hoops to jump through. It had such expectation, and it met the moment so brilliantly. Yeah, big fan. Loved it. Also, just quickly on the My Company thing. Seth Rollins in 2019 was best wrestling in the world. Bollocks, mate. He was really towing the company line, and it's absolutely...
It's why people turned on him. It's why he had to turn heel.
So
Seth Rollins is not cool.
When we have loved the Drew and Punk feud and how real it's felt and how, like, you know, based in the reality and whatever of it, we're now going to get a whole new version of that, because Seth was the champion and the flag bearer and the torch bearer and the biggest champion of this company when it was at its absolute worst. He stuck through the awful times while CM Punk was elsewhere chatting absolute crap about
burying the company at every opportunity
involved.
And every single person involved, telling Miz to go suck a blood money covered.
MJF.
No, he told Miz.
He told Miz to do that?
He told me, yeah, because he was talking about the Saudi Arabia deal.
He said that to... Oh, he said about you can go and headline like night 7
No,
of it.
that was
to MJF.
That was to MJF.
Yeah.
No, what he was saying to Miz on Twitter was like, go suck a blood money covered dick.
Lovely.
In Saudi Arabia, because he hated the company, hated Susan G. Komen, hated all the relationships they had with them. He spent 10 years burying this company. Gorilla Position is a great podcast, and I find it as a very, very fascinating podcast to listen to at times, because like, not only because, you know, some friends of mine like Skillet is part of that crew. James Dealer is such a nice guy and he does his thing as well, but they have Kevin Clifton on that show, and he is dyed-in-the-wool WWE, does not like any other wrestling, does not like AEW, does not like New Japan, does not like TNA, does not like Ring of Honor, hates everything else, but he loves WWE. So he hates CM Punk. And what's more is he hates people's obsession with CM Punk and why people like CM Punk. And a lot of his reasons are, he spoke so much mess about CM Punk for 10 years. Why are we just forgiving him? Why are we forgiving him for all of these things? Because he is so dyed-in-the-wool WWE that he cannot fathom why this person is being sort of revered and is, I can't believe he's back and he's creating all this magic. But that is part of the magic. That is part of the magic of Punk, and that's part of the magic of this story that they've been telling since Punk has come back.
And somewhere else along those lines is Ollie being a little bit disappointed in Punk coming back.
He
in
was.
A way.
That was his first reaction. Like his honest, genuine reaction when CM Punk came back was like, what a sellout.
Kind of, because he had
absolute sellout.
And yet, you know, the truth of a situation is far more complicated. There's a humility and that's part of the magic of Punk. It's always been the magic of Punk that we've spoken about, but part of it is the humility of going like, okay, well, the company feels different now, the infrastructure is different now. What he said recently is, if this was the way 10 years ago, I never would have left, kind of thing. And you know,
buy that for a second.
Well, maybe you don't, and maybe you do. But like the you know, whether 10 years ago, I believe, based on what everyone is saying, that this feels like a much better place to work now.
Well, yes, but and it's also a very different Punk than it was 10 years ago.
It was, and he's been humbled by the AEW experience and all those things.
It's humbled by the AEW experience. When people used to have a pop at me for being like, I don't buy it when he says I'm home. I don't believe that he really does believe that. What I do believe, though, is that he's in a much better place mentally than he was 3 years ago when he was in AEW, 2 years ago, whatever it was, when he really was clearly...
Last year, buddy.
No, I'm talking about all that 2022.
Oh, I see.
Which was the start of this.
Yeah. I was like, time. We talked about this upstairs. Time feels like it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It was a year ago.
But I'm talking about sort of like he is definitely in a much better place now. So he is definitely home in the sense of, I'm way more comfortable here. This is a much better infrastructure than A, it was here 10 years ago, but also B, what it's like in the other place. So what Jericho used to say about going from WCW to WWF.
It's Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, I suddenly started seeing the world in color. So I totally buy into all of that. And that's what I find so kind of interesting. And, you know, he's going out to NXT and he's hanging out with NXT and trying to train there. He was part of the training camps in Cleveland because he really, I think his end goal is, and this is one of the reports, is that he wants to effectively take over NXT. Like, that is something that he would like to see.
What he wanted to do in AEW is one of the reasons it didn't go so well for him. Like,
and that's partly, again, the sort of fragile ego thing, is that he tried to offer people advice. And people were like, I don't need to hear your advice. Like, I am appreciative that you're giving me advice, but I don't actually need it. Because I've had a lot of people of your age and your lineage and your heritage that have given me bad advice over the years and told me that I would never make it doing the things that I'm doing. And now I've made it doing the things that I'm doing. So thanks, but no thanks. But he took, Michael Jordan, he took that personally.
Yeah. But all of this, everything that we're talking about,
ties into all of this.
It's so perfect.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see what they're going to do with it. Because, yeah, look, I'm a Punk fan.
Me too.
Seth fan. I love what this match showed to me is a willingness to just go into it all. Yeah. And if this is, you know, when they eventually get to that Hell in a Cell match at some point, I'm all about it. I loved it.
We then had the backstage segment with Balor and Priest, where Balor effectively said to him, I'm going to turn on you in the match coming up.
Just going to give you a quick heads up.
Just a heads up, everyone. I'm going to turn on Damian Priest at the end of this match. And spoilers, he did. This was Gunther versus Damian Priest for the World Heavyweight Championship. Early doors, Priest chopped Gunther so hard his tit bled.
I mean, he already had a little... I don't know whether he'd been...
Well, I think it's probably leftovers from the Balor match. And then
they had any matches this week? I don't know, but like...
Are you running from the grinds, Dan?
I wouldn't. I work as little as possible if I can help it.
So this was a very, very good, very physical match. At one point, it seemed like the crowd were distracted by something, but it was not enough to kind of take them away from
I explored that.
the
Do you know what it was?
I have no idea what it was.
Not a clue.
Gunther kicked out of South of Heaven, and then he just starts battering him around. And at one point, he's just sort of looking at Gunther. He's taking all of these like huge hits, these clobbering blows from Gunther, and he just looks at him and he's like, it's going to take more than that. It is going to take more than that to put me down. And like, it just like, Gunther just keeps booting him, but it's just not enough. And then at one point, Balor appears at ringside, probably like snaps himself into existence at ringside, glitches into the ringside area. And Priest just stood up and he just took the straps down.
Straps down, 5-star match.
This place went ballistic. This babyface turn has done wonders for Damian Priest. This babyface turn has done more for him in getting over than the world title.
Yeah.
And he makes this huge comeback. He hits the Razor's Edge and the South of Heaven chokeslam. He has the match won. But Finn Balor grabs Gunther's foot and he puts it on the ropes. Priest is confused. He's like, what happened? Like, speaking to the refs, like, what happened? Then we see the replay. And when we cut back to the arena, Priest is watching the replay on the big screen.
How do you make someone a babyface? Logic.
Yeah.
Do you ever watch the show you're on? Like...
And so he then sort of turns around and Balor's there sort of smirking. So he goes after Balor. Gunther locks in the sleeper, drags him into the center of the ring. Priest looks like it. Gunther is yelling, he's out, he's out, he's out. But Priest arm up. He fights out of it, rolls through into a near fall. They go back and forth, but he distracts himself again by going for Balor. That's CM Punk gets, blind rage, goes after Balor again. Gunther just drags him into the center of the ring, locks in the sleeper. Priest passes out. Gunther wins the World Heavyweight Championship. Completely the right man to win the belt. Nothing against Damian Priest. I think that he, as I said, has done much better since he's won that belt. It's nothing against him. It is all about the booking.
Mm-hmm.
He's ended up becoming like the 5th most important thing on Monday Night Raw, possibly even 6th if you were to total it all up. And he just has not had that meaty feud. He hasn't had a rivalry. You want to sort of in 2K terms. He has not had a rivalry since he won that belt.
Mm-hmm.
He's just had the belt.
Had matches.
And he's had, he had 3 matches for the belt? And now he's not the champion anymore. It is a reign that we'll look back on and be like, that, much like Bayley, that deserves so much more. And I do think it did deserve a lot more.
Yeah, I'll Gunther very briefly, because there's very little actually to say about Gunther other than, Christ, that belt looks correct around his waist, doesn't it?
So it actually genuinely was like, it is a nice belt.
It is yeah.
And it does look like you're a proper champion.
Yeah, it really looks great. And I think it's the perfect call, not just because we're going to Berlin, but because the world champion should be someone who you believe fights, claws, scratches to the very end to have that belt, the very best in the business.
And he is.
And he is.
And he is, for my money, the best wrestler in WWE.
Yeah, and looking ahead, do you do a quick feud with Sami Zayn? Because, you lost your belt and I won one. Yeah, but I beat you at WrestleMania. Well, we've got Bash at Berlin at the end of the month. We needed someone to feud. The negative I have with that is I think we do fall into the trap of booking matches, not feuds. And I think we'd like to have a feud. I think...
yes, absolutely. That's such a good way to do it. That's a really neat, concise way of like my issue with Triple H creative is he just books matches, not feuds.
Yeah, and it's sometimes a match is necessary. Sometimes we haven't got long, especially with the 3-week builds that we've had. But sometimes it's nice to.
And also, there's nothing wrong with just booking matches. Like AEW, a lot of it is just it's about the excitement of seeing these two people have a match. Yeah, like that is the build. What's the story? The story is I want to see this person fight this person.
Yeah,
like that is the story.
But it's more satisfying.
But when you have a world title, you do need a little bit more than just. Here is a match.
Yeah. And also, I just want to say, Gunther makes anyone look good is objectively true. But in this match, Priest was putting such a shift in. And I really want to give him the credit as much as I can because he did the same against Drew, that moment where he nearly broke his leg and decides, okay, I'm going to use that for the rest of the match. I thought it was a mark of the wrestler that he is. Same thing was on show here. Really, using it all to his advantage, meeting the moment. I think the frustration over Priest's title run is that this is what I wanted for him this time last year. I remember when he went on Sunday Brunch, I talk about it all the time, and he just looked like an absolute star. And he just seemed like an absolute star. The depth of his voice, the look, the physicality. I was like, well, I'd love them to pull the trigger on this. And I think that he has shown in defeat, and in fact in the past month or so, he was ready to meet the moment, and for one reason or another, transitional champion is what he was. Like that's
that is how we will look back at this. This was a transitional run, and actually, I think we'll say the same thing about Bayley as well.
Yeah.
A transitional champion.
I agree, and I'm
possibly even Sami.
Sammy's abundantly.
At least Sami had the Chad feud. He had an actual rivalry.
That's true. I am so ready for Priest and Rhea against what I hope is Finn and Liv. I'm still clinging on to my Finn and Liv theory, which is that Dom's made his choice and actually like he's going to end up on his own.
It's not going to work out.
It's not going to work out. And the Judgment Day is going to be splintered, but it's going to be splintered 3 ways. It's going to be splintered into Rhea and Priest, Finn, JD and Liv, and then Dominic and Carlito, whose thing joining them together is that they both love PS5 and they both screwed over Rey Mysterio. So they've got a perfect offshoot. They can go over here.
Carlito did not screw over Rey Mysterio.
He did.
He had Jesus stab him. That's slightly different.
And that was John Cena.
Oh yeah, sorry. I'm thinking
the LWO.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Don't come for my joke.
I'm just No, I mean I was trying to make my own joke. I got my goats mixed up.
Yeah. One of them's a mountain goat. Good. Anyway, yeah. So like, point being, I think this deification of Rhea Ripley that we saw at the end of her match, and the fact that Priest is kind of already on this level, but is also going to get that Rhea rub. I think the involvement in this next bit is going to be so crucial to solidifying him, and maybe he can go for it again at some point in the future. I don't know. It depends how the title reigns work out. A crowded main event picture is a blessing and a curse.
Of course it is.
So yeah, I really want to put over Priest as well.
Yeah, me too, because I thought he was, and at the end of his reign, it's really, really good. Like, I think this babyface turn did so much for him. As I said earlier, it's the first time in quite some time I can say I'm excited now to see a Judgment Day segment on Raw. I really am looking forward to seeing the outcome of all of this.
Again, like what I said right at the beginning of the show, what do you as a promoter want from your fan base? That I want to tune in tonight. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Or tomorrow night. I want to watch the show.
And the last thing to talk about, because we talked about the main event, was Miz and R-Truth doing some comedy.
Yeah, they were there.
They certainly were. The Bell Ends came out to do some local sports heat, and then they did some local Jelly Roll heat. Truth did some more comedy, and then Jelly Roll hit them with chairs. The baddies, that is. He did a very cool, very good one-arm chokeslam.
Austin Theory took that like a champ. He made him look old. And
then the three of them did the 5-knuckle shuffle.
So that's 15 knuckle shuffle.
Yeah, perhaps it's a hell of a day on the bagger bus, I guess.
There you go.
And that was that. It was there to announce the attendance figure, which of course was inflated. I saw, some people not like this. I thought it was a good buffer between the two.
Oh yeah, you needed the moment.
In the olden days, there would have been a Divas match.
I went and I got myself a Muller corner. It was lovely.
Like in the olden days, by the way, this would have been the Women's Championship match.
Yeah,
and it would have been 2 minutes, and it would have been between Eve Torres and I don't know, Cameron or something.
Yeah.
But at least this here was done for Bucky O'Hara's comedy, and it did what it needed to do. I understand Sat's point though, because Sat was talking about some live reactions. It's like, we're telling the storyline about Austin Theory and Grayson Waller splitting up, but they were perfectly fine here. Like, so why didn't you use this segment to at least try and further that story?
I get that. Relationships they come and go. That's thinking too deep about it for me.
Well,
it was Jelly Roll giving a chokeslam.
Because that's not what this segment was about. The segment was not about furthering a storyline. It was just getting Jelly Roll in the ring so we can do a chokeslam. But yeah, a thumbs up show for me. I thought this was an excellent little SummerSlam. There's no mod mother here today, so I will do the poll. If you can read out the first couple of chats.
Brad G says, I'm curious if with Finn Balor they've been doing some long-term storytelling. If I recall correctly, after SummerSlam 2023, Priest promised Finn he wouldn't cash in until after Finn had his time with the belt, so Finn's turn started at WrestleMania. Finn also kind of cost... Priest cost Finn the belt twice. Both at Money in the Bank and SummerSlam, if I remember right. So, yeah. Leonza Duncan says, I love that only in wrestling, Dom and Liv are the bad guys. Dom was beaten into submission for months by Rhea, kind of entered a Stockholm Syndrome relationship, and made to denounce his father. Rhea betrayed and injured her friend Liv. Mami is a real villain. These are the kind of things you don't have to think about. Because it's wrestling.
It's wrestling. Zach Robinson has been a member for 38 months in a row. So, do you guys think the Punk-Drew-Seth rivalry keeps going until Mania? If not, where do you blow it off and how? Stay awesome, guys. Sport Wrestle Talk. Bad Blood is where that is Hell in a Cell at Bad Blood.
With all three of them?
Actually, yeah.
I would have Drew go elsewhere now.
Yeah?
Yeah. I think if you want to...
I suppose for Drew, he's excised demons.
Yeah.
He beat Punk.
This is what I mean.
That's all he wanted to do.
And Punk is very much who is in my line of fire right now, and right now is Seth Rollins.
So maybe it's Punk and Rollins.
He's been so focused on Drew McIntyre this whole time,
right.
and now he's... So for me, I'd move on slightly a little bit. There's a risk if you stretch it to if you can manage to stretch it to WrestleMania, fair play. I don't think they'll be able to, but I would love to see it.
FBM here said, feels like I'm taking crazy pills. 7 matches with 1 clean finish, maybe 2. Horrible end for Bayley. If you guys didn't see this in a group setting, I wonder if you'd feel the same. Haven't seen much of Raw. Was the bracelet something they set up as a big thing? First of all, we didn't see it in a group setting. I watched this on my own.
I was sat on the couch at 1 a.m.
Yeah, I watched this on my own this morning. So this is not like a group think type thing. I mean, I totally get your point in a way of, and I hate this because it's such a straw man argument, but it's one I will present here as just a thing. AEW recently had a pay-per-view where they had a lot of interference on the show. It was like most matches had interference on it, and it came under such fire and scrutiny for having nothing but interference. And to FBM's point here, all of these matches also had interference, but no one's saying anything bad about this show. But to me, that's because when you are hot, you can do nothing wrong. When you're cold, you can do nothing right. WWE at the moment is a hot product, and it is a product that can kind of do no wrong at the moment. So you can, and I said it at the top of the show, there are criticisms you can level against this show, but they're so easy to look past. If you are a cold product and you have things you can criticize, they're easier to focus on. I go compare it to WWE in 2019. 2019 was a bad year for WWE.
Yeah.
And it was so easy to criticize the show, and they just made the show worse.
Yeah.
If it had been a hot product, though, you might not have noticed.
I don't know. There's no coming back from that. I don't think even if it was a hot product, that Fiend finish works.
Honestly, I think if that was a Triple H done thing, there would be people who'd be like, no, let it play out. You've got to let it play out. You've got to let
people doing that then as well. I feel like those people exist.
Well, but those people were laughed at. Those people
That's
now
true.
are taken seriously.
Yeah.
So I think that it's a...
I wasn't that person then.
Dan is waving for audio listeners. So I think that's a case of what it is. Like, to kind of back up FBM's points ever so slightly. For me, that's where I sit.
For me, I don't agree. And I cannot tell you how bad of a weekend I'd been having. And I sat down on my own at 1 a.m. and watched the show and had a great time. So people say this group setting. I'm the person who despises our watch parties because they skew our end of year
because we had too much fun at them.
Yes, that's right. Disagree.
Patrick here said, biased because I was there, but I think this year's SummerSlam is up there with the best and a perfect way to cap off a pro wrestling week in Cleveland. Show flowed way better than last year, and my guy Gunther is now the world champion. Jam that effing jam. Yeah, I mean, hey, Walter is the WWE world champion. I'm super happy about that. But yeah, it's way better than last year's SummerSlam.
Oh yeah, big time.
Luke here said, hey guys, I've got to say I was probably one of the few, but I was actually underwhelmed by this show. Whether it was Punk versus Drew, Roman returns, and even the Judgment Day stuff, I thought there were so many better ways to do things. I think that, again, it's like if you're a hot product, then it's just like people don't look at, oh, you could have done this better. If you're a cold product, that you can do a lot of like, I would have done this to improve this. But if you are hot, and the company is hot at the moment, it's just like, it was great.
There are alternate ways to do things, I think is the way I'd put it. Like, I do this a lot on the show. I talk about if I'd have done it, I'd have maybe done it this way or that way. That's not coming from a place of I think you did it badly.
But if you are a cold product, that's where it comes from. That is the position to take, is that this is why this did not work.
This isn't your argument, the cold product, hot product thing. They're a hot product because of work, and they've kind of earned it. I don't think
anyone's taking that away.
I know.
I'm saying they've lucked into this.
It's just that there's a stretch point to that argument where it's that like you're hot, it doesn't really matter. You are booking badly, but people say good anyway, which is kind of one or two of the comments I see people being like, I didn't like the show, I think it could do better. Where I'm like, I'm sorry you didn't like it. That doesn't make it bad. One of those things where just because they're a hot product, they can get away with anything. It also is good.
Yeah, well, well, absolutely. But I think, but that's not the bit that people are looking at. They're looking at the bad stuff, and you get away with that because the rest of the show is good.
That's
like
fair.
there was a period of time if the show was good, and AEW was this product in 2020, 2021. There was not a week where AEW could do something wrong because they were a hot ticket, they were a hot product, they were a hot company. So even when there were bad things on the show, which we would talk about on the podcast and on the pay-per-views and stuff, it gets glossed over by sort of like the people who are watching the show because they're like, but the rest of it's really, really good. So you don't focus on all this bad stuff. At the moment, they're not a hot company. They're not a hot product. It's not a hot TV show, despite I think they're doing a lot of things right. And because of that, you're more hyper looking at, well, that's bad. Maybe that's why they're not a hot product. That's bad. Maybe this is why they're not a hot product. When you're hot, you don't look at any of that stuff. Or you don't focus on it as much because you're just like, well, no, everything they're doing is right.
That's
because when you're hot, you can do nothing wrong. When you're cold, you can do nothing right.
Yeah.
Dante Kennedy says, Damien hits his finisher, McAfee. I've seen him finish a lot of matches with that. Well, I bloody hope so, Pat. Seriously, though, Roman coming back was great. Lots of good title changes last night. JD is over. I think Judgment Day, not JD McDonough. Raw SmackDown have become must-watch for me. Julio here says, man, what a good show. Predictable, but very good. Personally, LA Knight vs. Logan Paul was my favorite. Just loved me a reverse atomic drop. But I love the small details throughout the show, especially while Gunther puts the second sleeper in. Priest was reaching for Finn. Mike here said, it's read that the only two SummerSlam YouTube clips with over 1 million views are Roman's return and the match highlights of Liv and Rhea. Notably not the Liv and Dom kiss video. Shows that people are truly into the rivalry, not just the romance. That's an interesting note. Sheldon here said, now that Roman is back, do you keep him and Cody on the same show or do you move one of them to Raw since allegedly Netflix wants one of them on Raw when they do move there?
I'm genuinely fascinated to see... Well, we'll find out on Monday, I suppose, but you could not have Roman around a little bit longer if you wanted to. I think maybe you have to have him on Friday, but maybe you don't have to have him on Friday. I don't know. I don't know. I'm intrigued. Let's cross that bridge when we get there.
Yeah.
But
So James in the chat says, Luke, you need to bring that skill to the next debate show. I won that debate show. I don't need to bring it.
Oh, Great Bombs.
Yeah, I won Great Bombs.
Well,
I actually won it. I won 3 of the rounds.
there you go.
So maybe I'm already good at this.
That is an interesting thought, Sheldon Jackson, though. I don't know.
Master Nate said, not sure if anyone else has suggested this, but with Seth as the special guest ref, would it have been more fun to mirror the Montreal screw job and have Seth say Punk screwed Punk? No, because I am sick to death of the Montreal screw job and references to the Montreal screw job. It's a breath of fresh air to reference a different pay-per-view from 1997.
I was literally about to say, like, I think if the Montreal screw job hadn't been referenced every year since the Montreal screw job, it would have been like, oh wow, they've done that.
They did a Montreal screw job reference a month after the Montreal screw job.
Yeah.
It was, and at that point it was already tired. And then it was years and years and years and years and years that every company tries to do their version of it. Tommy here said, hi guys, did you see that Drew McIntyre was listed on the post show as a 2-time WWE champion and a 3-time world champion? Could this be his TNA world championships getting recognized? Also, Nia and Bayley stole the show for me. The crowd was on fire and that powerbomb. Seeing her mentor Tiffany is promising.
I didn't notice that.
I didn't
That's
know
quite
that.
interesting.
That is interesting. Scott here says, great show. I was there. I had so much fun. You guys have a great day. You too. Honestly, by the way, just to tell me, I don't know what that is.
What
Into the World
the World
Championship thing.
Champions
It
thing.
could be a TNA
Maybe it's
stuff.
TNA.
Maybe it is.
NXT. He was NXT champion. Maybe the 2-time. I don't know.
Oh yeah, he was 2-time NXT champion.
Was he?
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Probably that then. Raphael says, H-O-T-T-O-G-O, where does this leave Carlito?
None of those are the right notes, but that's fine.
Oh, how very dare you. You bitch. That was an excellent rendition of you. So, by the way, Jabba Ronin, that
The
little
luchador
thing
outfit,
is
yeah.
living rent-free in my head.
Excellent styling.
It was a good SummerSlam, but I do feel bad for Bayley in her title reign. It felt underserved. Me too. Sheldon here said, Priest asked Finn if he knew that Dom was going to screw Rhea and go with Liv. And Finn said no.
That's the bit where Finn was crossed.
And
or
yes.
the priest insulted him or whatever.
Yeah, it said almost like, did you know? As if like, oh, did you just assume?
Accusatory.
Accusatory. There it is. Yeah. Jimmy Yang's Wang said, howdy ho. I think I'm between you two in terms of the Sami Bron match. While I would have preferred a Brock Cena 2014 outing for Money in the Bank, I quite like the 2-match story they've told with Bron learning from his past mistakes and besting Sami. Anonymous here said, great show, I'm so happy for Nia. Also, does Liv and Dominic's turn remind everyone else of Trish and Christian turning on Jericho? I swear that kiss definitely did. Overall, great show, no complaints.
One of the best turns of all time, I think, that Trish one.
Yeah, I mean...
I was
yeah,
absolutely furious.
Rocky Fight, but actually good, said, afternoon, chaps. Lovely bit of wrestling last night. Very happy with the mid-card title changes. Shout out to Nick Aldis' tie collection and that heavyweight title bout. Real graps, brother. Good on Damien for being clever and watching the replay.
We have to worry about that because it's wrestling. It's not real. There was a little part of me that was like, surely the ref had DQ because there was an interference there.
Mm-hmm. Captain, oh yeah, I suppose the referee would also watch the replay, unless the referees don't show it to me.
Yeah, I don't want to see.
I don't want to see it. Captain here said, re the Bron Sami match. I think part of the match that maybe you missed is that Bron throughout the whole match was avoiding the haluva kick, and it was a haluva kick attempt that he speared Sami out of before hitting the second faster spear. Maybe. Not actually Tesco has been a member for 18 months in a row, said, Guten Tag, team. Not a single bad match on the card for me, and finally my boy LA Knight gets his hand on some WWE gold. Yeah. Kevin here said, I hated this show and realized why I hate WWE shows and why it's not for me. 6 of the 7 matches had interference and only once did it not matter. I'm tired of every match feeling like a waste of time due to this interference crap.
I'm sorry you felt that way.
Spectre here said, I hated this show. Oh no, that's the same chat. Kevin, sorry, moderators, can we look into this, please? Because Kevin and Spectre's chats are the same. I'd imagine that one of those has been accidentally copied.
It would be wild, though, if they said the same thing.
Absolutely. Tracy has been a member for 11 months in a row, said, I love this whole pay-per-view. Good matches, great stories, excited for what's to come on both Raw and SmackDown. Real life is crazy now, and I'm enjoying this ride. Cyber Cyan here said, we all thought we were going to do SummerSlam 97 finish, especially when Punk came out in pink and black, but it turns out we were wrong. They're actually paying tribute to a different Bret Hart match because CM Punk screwed CM Punk. Roach here says, I want to get this off my chest, but why are WWE keeping Logan Paul around, especially after the controversies he has done and is still doing? Publicity, basically, and sponsorship deals and... yeah, they think he's
contracts.
Contracts. They think he's worth keeping around. Leonza here said, sorry, I'm going to read this one ahead of time. So can you read this next one?
We got a few more here as well. I'm just going to look up. Tracy says, love this whole PLE. Good matches and great stories.
One.
Okay. Cyber Cyan, Pixel Punch TV. When WWE puts the bracelet on a superstar, you expect them to hold on to it for a while. So don't mind that they're doing a little hot potato with the bracelet. Really makes it seem like anything could happen. Maybe R-Truth could have a short run with it. The 24/7 bracelet. Will Campbell says, hi guys. Though the show overall was an absolute banger. Slight shame the Priest was shown to be a great champion in the match he lost the belt, but it still totally ruled. Also, everything about the Punk Drew match was absolute cinema. Also, go USA! Except in races where Team GB are present.
Master Nate here said, I should clarify, by mirroring the screw job, I mean they have the bracelet stuff and the GTS to Seth. It was amazing, but then have Drew lock in the Anaconda Vice and Seth calling for the Bellas revenge for Punk's outburst and attack. No, I think
slightly better.
It's slightly better, but I think Punk, as Seth counting the pin, is actually a much better visual.
Yeah, I think it's far more satisfying. And again, once again, it comes down to ultimately, it wasn't even Punk giving him the GTS that made him DQ'd. He lost.
Yeah, and again, let's not, because that does then mirror the Montreal screw job, and I think we're all past that now. Also, Triple H doesn't want to book that. It was his idea. Bag of Biscuits said, it's good the story is finally moving forward, but I'm sad that they did what I think is the most boring, safe outcome of the Dom story. He already gets heavily booed, so I feel like they missed a chance to give Dom's character some depth by not turning. This was Kevin's chat.
So it was Spectre who hated the show.
Spectre who hated the show. Kevin said, I was actually surprised because I've met Kevin. So I was really surprised at that chat. I was like, wow, I thought you quite like WWE shows.
Yeah.
The times I've spoken to you. Kevin's actual chat says, the ooh-ah before the spear lives rent-free in my head from last night. I had to slap my arm when the orchestra version started. This was a perfect return. The show is really good, and I'm so here for Priest and Rhea running roughshod on Raw 5 out of 5. The very opposite to the chat that we thought you had earlier. Leonzo here said, I despise the Paul Bros. It wasn't incredible. I feel like he made the US feel relevant again, but not like Gunther. It seemed to care that he was the champion when he was around. Plus, he went on non-WWE events with it and was front and center on his podcast. That's the idea of him having the belt for so long. We talked about this in the prediction show.
Yeah.
Did it actually benefit WWE in any way? Because I thought it would do, but I don't know if there's like an army of Logan Paul fans that are tuning in. Like, he doesn't bump a rating whenever he's on the show.
My sort of like anecdotal evidence was always like, if I've had friends be like, oh, is Logan Paul the champion? And then when they find out he is, that then doesn't convert to them watching the show. Whereas like The Rock of WrestleMania, they watched the show.
Yeah. Laxmi Nirasamham B has been a member for 34 months in a row. Said, if Survivor Series has War Games again, I guess we have two contenders already. Judgment Day, they're not sure now, potential allies for Priest and the Bloodline. Well, I think they'll do a women's and a men's one. And the men's one will be the Bloodline one, and the women's one will be
Team Rhea versus Team Liv.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. That's actually not a bad shout.
Mm.
Shaq here said, Dan, did you listen to Electric Callboy? If you did, you might have to catch that the official theme song for Bastion Berlin is by those boys in collaboration with Baby Metal, so take that as a sign. Thanks, chaps. You rock.
Well spotted.
And shout out for some of our members, Larry, Rab, and Spectre, who's become a member. Thank you all so much. I'm just going to end this poll, which has actually seen a bit of a dip recently. It was very high to start with, but it's actually now fallen below the 90% mark. 88% thumbs up, 8% thumbs in the middle.
Apparently, people do not like an interference or two.
I actually disagree with that poll.
Funny, I didn't even notice. I guess that's a fair assessment. But because there were two matches in between, like Liv and Bayley and Nia, where that didn't happen. So there were no interferences in the Intercontinental or US title matches.
Yes,
the US title match there was. Yeah. The Intercontinental.
Machine Gun Kelly, and don't forget
Jeff.
Jeff.
They don't count. And it didn't work.
Yeah, it was still interference.
Yeah,
though.
that's true.
Like,
but they don't
Tiffany's
count.
interference didn't work, but it was still interference.
Tiffany's interference worked. Nia's the champion.
She didn't cash in.
No, but she interfered on behalf of Nia. Or at least Nia thinks
she caused a distraction.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah,
I guess because those people are so.
Look, I also think potentially, and
If you say hot product one more time,
I'm not going to say hot product. Although if I do have to bring that argument out again, I will do.
It is a good argument.
I wonder if, because this is something I've talked about on Raw a lot, because I notice it. Like I use the term interference and distraction so much when I'm writing my Raw reviews. Like I use it a lot in this one. I actually use the term like in all of the commotion, then hear this, and I use those phrases, the same wording every time. as a way to highlight just how much of there is across the show. And I wonder if there will become a period of time where people do start to, oh yeah, there is a lot of interference. It's actually quite annoying how much interference there is on this show. And that's when the downturn starts to happen, when it's like, and I'm just positing the idea. You can get away with it now, but if you keep doing it, when does it become an irritant?
I think probably because if we remove the main event, you've got 3 matches where it was cathartic narratively in the both of the Judgment Day matches and in Tiffany and Nia, that the interference then continued something, or at least sparked something, or prodded a little thing.
And I don't think you can count.
Seed.
I don't think you can count the main event. It is a show designed around interference,
right?
As a match that's designed around interference.
And then the other one is the Logan Paul one,
which is the Logan Paul template.
It didn't work, and so I think that's probably why I didn't think about it in those terms. If you are thinking about it in those terms, yeah, that's actually quite fair.
And again, I think if you're just enjoying the show, it doesn't bother you.
I had such a nice evening.
Dude, I had this with the AEW show, but they had all the interference, and people were kicking off about it. I said, I honestly did not notice.
Yeah.
Because I really enjoyed the
We all have our hang-ups.
So I did not notice the amount of interference. Now looking back on it, I'm like, man, there was a lot of interference on this show. And I probably did at the time being like, oh, another interference.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed the show so much that it didn't detract away from it. In the same way here, yes, 6 of the 7 matches had interference, but it didn't detract from my enjoyment of the show, because I really enjoyed this show.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all we've got time for on this edition of the show. A bumper edition, about an hour 45 we've got on this one today.
There was lots happening.
Lot to dive into. So thank you all so much for joining us. We do have a clipped out of the reaction that Pete and Sat had to Roman Reigns' return. That's linked to in the video description, so go give that a little watch.
It was the inverse of Pete's death stare. His eyes lit up. It was lovely to see.
So we will see you on Tuesday for the Raw podcast. There'll be no Monday podcast because there's no point in reviewing SmackDown and no one watches Collision. So we'll not be doing a Monday show. So we'll be doing the.
I was the shill. What happened? You're supposed to be Tony's boy.
Because I like to make fun. I like to troll.
That's true.
That's my new t-shirt.
Yeah.
I like to troll.
OTT. Original Tribal Troll.
Original Trollable Chief.
OTC. Original Troll Chief.
I'm an original Trollable Chief.
DAD is over. You're the original Troll Chief.
The original Trollable Chief. That's what I'm going with. So we'll see you on Tuesday for the Raw review and all of the fallout of this. Until then, I've been Luco and DAD. That has... Sorry. OTC. That has been Dan Layton. OTC.